When you're starting an art business, whether you're licensing your artwork, selling prints, or self-publishing coloring books, or even just starting an Etsy shop, it can feel like there's a secret formula to success that you maybe haven't quite cracked yet. The right software, the right workflow, or the right art business strategy. And if you could just figure out what successful artists are doing, maybe you could finally have the roadmap that you're looking for. So I decided to go straight to the source. I reached out to several artists and I asked them some simple questions. What tools do you use? What does your workflow look like? And what advice would you give artists who want to start making or selling their own work online? And what surprised me the most wasn't just where their strategies agreed, but where their strategies disagreed, where they didn't quite match up at first glance. The more I thought about their answers, the more obvious it became to me that there is more than one path to become a successful artist. And that's pretty encouraging, so let me show you why. Now, before we get into their answers, let me quickly introduce the artists that were kind enough to respond to my emails, and I am so thankful that they did. But the first artist was Mel Armstrong. You probably know Mel. She is also here on YouTube, and she is an illustrator, and she is a surface pattern designer, and she has built a successful career licensing her artwork and creating illustrations for children's books, which is like my dream. So I definitely wanted to hear from her, and I am so thankful that she responded. And the other artist that responded to my email is Simon Hintermann. He's an illustrator best known for his incredibly detailed atmospheric illustrations, and he is at Aramek on Instagram. And once I started seeing his posts, I fell in love with his artwork, and I really wanted to know more about him, and I'm very grateful that he responded to my email as well. But what I love about these two artists is that they represent two very different creative paths. They have different styles, different workflows, different business models, yet both have found success making art. And I'm so thankful I got responses from them to my email. I'm probably going to say thank you a million more times because that's just how I am. So let's go ahead and get into their responses. Let's start with the question that everyone wants answered, and that is, what software are successful artists actually using? So Mel uses a combination of Procreate, Photoshop, Illustrator, and then she says occasionally Affinity. And Simon has been using Procreate almost exclusively for years. And I thought that contrast was really interesting because if you've spent any amount of time online, you hear people arguing about which is the best software. I even kind of talk about it on my channel here. Which one should you be using? Which one should you choose? So Procreate versus Photoshop, Procreate versus Affinity, Affinity versus Adobe, and everyone wants to know which is the best one and which one they should use. But here are two successful artists. One uses multiple programs throughout their creative process, and the other sticks exclusively to Procreate, and both have built successful careers. So maybe the lesson here isn't the perfect software. Maybe it's just that they became really proficient in the software that they use and they like it. Particularly what Simon said really struck me regarding Procreate. He said with Procreate that he doesn't have to use a dozen shortcuts on a keyboard to change tools or brushes. So what matters most is the comfortability that software offers to you. That is going to keep you creating. So it's not the software itself that artists have attributed to their success, but the fact that they found tools that they've enjoyed and they stick with them long enough to become really good at it. I personally love the fact that Mel uses all of those different programs because that's what I do, and it's kind of a comfort knowing that I don't have to stick with just one. Sometimes it's just feeling out which of those programs, whether it's Procreate or Illustrator or Affinity, which one of those programs is going to have the right mix of tools and the right feeling to make what it is that you have in your mind. And for Simon, that's strictly Procreate. So use what works for you and don't have FOMO for the fact that someone else is using a program that you're not or one that you haven't learned. Use what you know and make something really great with it. So my next question to them was about workflow. So how do they go from an idea to a finished piece of artwork? And once again, the answers were surprisingly different. For Mel, the process changes depending on the project. So for pattern design, she sketches the motifs in Procreate, then moves to Photoshop or Illustrator to build the final pattern. And for children's book illustrations, she does most of the artwork in Procreate and finishes it in Photoshop. And when she paints traditionally with gouache, she cleans everything up digitally afterward. So it's a workflow that moves between several different tools depending on on what she's needing. And I absolutely love that concept because right now, like all of these programs are really easily accessible. And if you don't have Adobe like she does, you could always get the free version of Affinity either on your desktop computer or the version 2 apps of Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo. They work very similarly. We have access to all of these things and we shouldn't be afraid to use them all together because what she makes is truly beautiful. Simon, on the other hand, he starts by creating a lot of tiny thumbnail sketches. He says he has hundreds of them. Most of them never become finished pieces, but he has an idea and he makes a thumbnail of it. And once he has an idea that he likes, he develops it further, creates the line art, adds color, adjusts the lighting, and finishes the piece. And you'll see a lot of those pieces on his Instagram and what he sells as art prints. And all of this is done entirely inside Procreate. And what he also said is that he usually just uses the same brush for the entire piece, just using like a standard chalk brush, which is really awesome because like that's incredibly accessible. So if you have Procreate, don't feel like you have to buy tons and tons of brush packs. Brush packs are really fun. I sell some and I like people buying them, but as a creator, don't feel like not being able to afford a bunch of brush packs, not knowing which one to get. Don't let that hinder you in your art. He is just using a chalk brush that he adjusted, and that's all he uses. I think that's great. But what I find fascinating is that neither of these workflows sounds better than the other. They're just different. One artist moves between multiple programs and the other stays entirely in one, but both have developed a process that they trust. And I think that's the key because I think beginners spend a lot of time searching for the best workflow. But artists don't seem to have perfect workflows or the absolute best one. It's the one that fits them the most. They have repeatable workflows because the goal really shouldn't be to find the perfect system. The goal is finding the system that is going to work for you over and over again. And I really love the idea of Simon's workflow so much that I actually tried it. For a recent coloring book project, I actually created tiny thumbnail sketches in a sketchbook and then I moved it into Procreate. I wanted to use the same program that Simon used. So what surprised me the most was how much pressure it removed. So at thumbnail size, I wasn't worried about perfect line art or beautiful details. I was only thinking about composition and whether the idea worked. So by the time I started drawing the final pages, I already had a roadmap and the hard decisions had been made, and I felt much more confident knowing the composition was solid before I invested hours into the finished artwork. And I have never worked this way before, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're trying to learn composition, because my issue isn't details. My struggles were with composition. And so when you kind of take those two things and separate them, only composition and only details, it becomes much more clear because I would get lost in the details when I just need to see what the page would look like. So thank you, Simon, for that one. It has saved me. So now let's get into the part that I found the most interesting. And it's the advice on getting started with your art business. If you're ever on the art business Reddit, people are constantly posting their art, their illustrations, their paintings, and saying, am I ready to sell these yet? And my first thought whenever I see those posts is, how are we, the people of the internet, supposed to know if you're ready? We don't know any of this person's background. We don't know where they came from. We don't know how far they've come. Getting advice on this topic in this format was of great interest to me. And their responses were quite interesting because on the surface, it seemed like they were disagreeing with each other. Mel's advice was simple. Don't wait until you're ready because you won't ever feel ready. She told me that one of her first licensing deals happened while she was on vacation and she was negotiating over the phone while feeling completely unqualified. So the feeling of being unqualified is how I feel like basically all the time. So it's nice to know that I'm in good company. But she says that it happened because she had her work out in the world. And it was not because she suddenly felt ready. Meanwhile, Simon's advice was almost the opposite. He says that beginners often focus on selling too early, and that most artists should spend time developing their skills before worrying about products, prints, or income. So on the surface, these feel like completely contradictory responses. One artist says to start, and the other artist says to slow down. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that these are talking about two different problems. Mel is talking to the artist that has been waiting forever. The artist that keeps saying, I'll start when I'm better, or I'll start when I'm ready, or I'll start when I know more about it. And Simon is talking to the artist that is trying to sprint to the finish line. The artist that hasn't spent much time drawing yet, but already worrying about building an empire. So what they're doing is warning against two different extremes. These are two different people. I don't think it's at all incorrect to take these two seemingly contradictory answers and put them together, because then it creates that incredibly balanced viewpoint. One says, don't wait forever to start your business, but at the same time, don't skip the learning process. And I think that's incredibly valuable advice. One that I definitely wouldn't have been able to come up with on my own. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself a little bit because I want to talk a little bit more about Mel's email to me, because I want to go a little bit deeper on some of the things that she said that I didn't touch on enough. And she also says to focus on your style before you start selling. Like what Simon says is, keep drawing and keep honing your craft. So she says it's tempting to rush toward the income part, such as creating a shop and print on demand and the licensing pitches, but having a cohesive body of work makes every single one of those things easier. Then she says, pick one place to show up consistently rather than trying to be everywhere badly. And that is beautifully said. And finally, don't put all your eggs in one income basket, but don't try to build all the baskets at once either. They can work all together beautifully over time, but when you're starting, do one thing properly and get it working. That's all really good advice, and I wanted to make sure that you guys heard it too. Okay, back to the other part of the video. But then here's what really stood out to me. Despite their differences, they agreed on the things that mattered the most. Neither artist gave me a secret algorithm that is going to lead to success. Instead, they kept coming back to the same idea: make more art. Practice consistently, develop your skills, keep showing up, share your work, build trust, and let your style develop over time. And maybe that's the answer that most beginners don't want to hear, because it's not like an exciting shortcut that is going to lead you right to success. And it's not a secret, but it seems to be what actually works. There isn't just one correct path. One artist licenses their work, another sells prints. One uses multiple programs, one barely leaves Procreate. One works traditionally and digitally, and one is almost entirely digital. Different paths, different workflows, different personalities, but they've both built careers around making art. And I think that's really encouraging, because when it comes to successful artists and new artists that want a taste of that success, it means that you don't have to become a copy of someone that already exists out there. You don't need to copy their workflow. You don't need to use their exact software, and you don't need to copy their exact path. You just need to start building your own. And if there's one main thing that these artists taught me with just this small bit of correspondence, is that success doesn't come from finding the perfect roadmap. It comes from continuing to create and drawing your own roadmap. Literally, you have to keep drawing, you have to keep illustrating, you have to keep making your art. And in that way, your own personal successes and wins will find you. And I just want to take one last moment to sincerely and personally thank Mel Armstrong and Simon Hintermann for responding to my cold emails. As much as my intention was to help my audience with their sage advice, it's already helped me so much. And I've linked both of their social media in the description box down below, so you can check out their artwork if you hadn't before, which you had to have. They're so great. And if you're just getting started with digital art, let me show you how to choose the right iPad in this video right here.